Yo, what is good, my ganglings? Yo, it has been a minute since we had our last trade recap, bro. And honestly, there's just been a lot of news, bro. Honestly, last time we had a trade recap was January 3rd, and then we had the weekend, sadly. And we had Monday, a bank holiday, and we had Tuesday, CPI. Then we had Wednesday, FOMC, and then we had today finally. But nice. We got absolutely nothing today, so that's already know. Like we're clear as days. We're chilling like Dylan. So we already know we had to hop on the markets and we had to start cooking something up. And conveniently enough for me, I had a 2 hour delay today, so I was able to get on the charts a little bit earlier, than what I usually do, and I was actually able to sit through my whole trade. So pretty cool. Now, starting with the trade, let's start. I have a ton of lines, and this was like in the morning, so I hope that I remember why I marked everything the way I did. Now, the weekly, like I said, I like to check just like at least once every start of the week, just so I know what's really going on. Like, what are we seeing? How should we expect our daily candles to really move throughout the week? I guess. So, like I said, we had this dump from here to here on the daily on I think like 2 videos ago. I'm not sure. We had this jump right here, and then I said we would probably be expecting a retrace, in which we did. We actually retraced back up into this old imbalance that we had on the daily before, retested off this, and then came back down. Now, this retrace, you could actually see it on the weekly. We have this big fat wick that comes up right here during this weekly candle, and then you could see how the whole retracement is kind of just represented in one candle. And basically, what was happening is, like I was saying, we had this daily that is not the way it's supposed to go. We had this daily going right here, this dump, and then we had this retrace, blah blah blah, and then we're back down. So we have this wick just showing us that. So we already know we're saying not to the upside, and we're proceeding our way. So on the daily and the weekly, that's kind of it. The weekly is just really fast. The daily, we're kind of just summing up, see what's happening really for the day, how price is moving, and we can see we're still dumping. So now moving on to the 4 hour, the 4 hour. Now, if we look here, we can see this was our retracement moment from, let's see right here, this was 2nd of January, where we said we would probably expect something like a retrace. So we had our retracement right here, which came up until about the 7th. And this retracement actually had this marked out as well. This 4 hour put out some liquidity right here. And then it actually was in an imbalance, right? Yeah, this was in an imbalance. We slept out some liquidity right here, and then we got sent to the downside, came back into this order block that swept out this liquidity, and we kept dumping. Something that I noted on the 4 hour. And so we're dumping, right? And we move to the 1 hour, right? So now the 1 hour, we can see this is just representing everything that's really happening on the 4 hour. We it's just in more candles, but it's essentially the same thing. We're overall still bearish. And so we see here, I actually see my entries right here. And so we come down and we are in this little retracement that's happening right here from this high to this low, where we actually make it to equilibrium and then start dumping back down. Now, the 15-minute is kind of where I want to get more started at. So on the 15-minute, we could see we had this area of, I don't know what the heck to call this. It looks more like an M. So on the 15-minute, we could see that we had, if we look at this bearish structure, and even on the 15-minute, on the 5-minute, on the 1 minute, I'm pretty sure we saw a sweep on liquidity that was happening with this. So if we see this right on the 15-minute, we had this high being taken out, and then we dump, right? So yeah, this is kind of where we were at. The market opened around 9:30, so we'll just mark that out. and this would be this one. Okay, so we marked that out right here, and overall we're just looking for a retrace to the upside so we can get our entry into shorts. And so we sweep out this liquidity, and then we get out. We come over here. The order clock, or the order block, my fault, is at about right here, from here to here, which is actually where I ended up setting my TP at. It's just a whole bunch of nothing now. We're not really too concerned with the 15-minute. It was just something that I looked at. What I really was starting to look at, though, was the 5-minute and the 1-minute, because that's really where I take my executions at. So overall, I'm just getting bearish bias from the weekly, the day, the 4 hour, 1 hour. Everything's just moving pretty much bearish. Had this, this area of straight consolidation that we had. Just holy, or this part was moving, I guess, up, but whatever this is, who knows? So we come here to the 5-minute, and we actually see that we have this point of liquidity that gets taken out and gets sweeped. So on this is actually where I used it as confluence with my 1-minute entry, and I'll explain more in a little bit. So market opened right around here. So prior to this, we had this sweep of liquidity right here, and then we had our break of structure, right? Straight break of structure to the downside. And then with this, the order block was somewhere around here. And so with this, we had our liquidity sweep, our break of structure, and then we move out of the order block right here, and then we come back into the order block, move, and then we actually come back and do a retest before we start dumping, because we could see that we had our out when we come in, and then out, retest, and then we started dumping. So when this happened, we had already had our entry back into the order block of the 5-minute, so that way now when we go to the 1-minute, we could actually see that same sweep right here that happened, this liquidity, right? So we're looking right into these retracements that happen during the 5-minute. If we could get back to this real quick, just so I can show what I'm talking about. Into these retracements back into the 5, right? We saw this point of liquidity right here in this 5-minute retracement into their order block, which would be right here. So we had already, got that taken care of. So we're looking for an entry on the 1-minute, and on the 1-minute, I'm going to delete this now just because there's way too much stuff going on the screen, just to have a little bit more cleaner. So on this, we have a point of liquidity right here, which ended up getting swept on the 1-minute time frame, just a few minutes before market open. And then on this, we had our break of structure as well. So we had our sweep right here. We had our break of structure to the downside. We can see right here. We get out of the order block, and then we come back into this order block at equilibrium. We could get a pretty good discounted price range right there. And then there was this imbalance that I was initially aiming for. However, I didn't see this imbalance right here, which is the one that ended up bursting on, which I could have got a better entry off of that one. But either way, I didn't enter until later, just because we had this imbalance right here that was bullish, and the way price was moving, just like ups and downs, I really wanted to be sure before I entered just that price would be more probable to be in my favor than not in my favor. So it it's whatever. Either way, I wouldn't have entered off these two, because I wanted to make sure this would be invalidated just before I entered. And you can see I entered right here, just right after it. We broke structure back down and making this in inverse. So, little funny story. I actually entered this trade wrong. So what happened is that in the morning I had to go leave my little sisters to the bus, and so I was on my computer checking out the market and everything, and it's about 9:40, and I have to go leave my little sisters at 9:40, and we actually just were getting this retracement into this order block right here, or sorry, into this imbalance right here. We ended up filling and closing below again, and as well as this one. So 9:40 was about right here. So before this, right, this is what we were working with, and at 9:40, I had to go on my phone and just keep looking at the market while I walk to the bus stop to leave my little sisters. And I actually ended up entering the trade wrong. So I accidentally ended up setting my stop to somewhere around right here. I think it was, yeah, right there. It was, yeah, I remember it was 117. And so I entered right there. I entered the same spot, but I entered my stop right here with a risk of 1%. But I didn't realize until I got back home that that's not where I actually wanted to set my stop loss, because I wanted to set my stop loss just outside this liquidity sweep. Just that's where I would say the the overall trade would just be invalid. So I ended up having to go back home, and I saw that if I change this, right, I would then have a 1.7% risk. So I I wasn't gonna change it, but I was like, yo, like trusting, if I came up with this bias, it's because I trust in it. So I moved this all the way back up to here, where I then kept it. However, I still kept the original size that I kept with this of 1.7%. So for a good part of the trade, I had a 1.7% risk into this, and I ended up actually closing partial position out of this at a certain point and bringing the risk back down to 1%, just so I can keep consistency with how I'm trading. Because essentially I was going to leave it that way, but because I thought we're already in the position, but I was thinking about how to close it, and then I figured it out. So then we just did the math, and then we took out 40% of our position, and then we ended up with 100% risk, and I was able to keep this here, risking only 100, and we ended up coming back right here into this. What was this? This. Oh yeah, we ended up coming back into the imbalance that it ended up bursting on, and then we started dumping. And so at this point, we were dumping pretty smoothly right here for these few minutes, and then we reached this point where we had this imbalance upside, and this is actually where I took out my partial position, but it wasn't all the way down here. I'm sure it was somewhere around here. The price was right here. I just wanted to take it out at the imbalance. So at this was, say, TP1, if you want to call it that. So right there, I made some off that, and then price ended up actually closing below this imbalance, which was perfect for me because that just invalidated the bullish pressure, and just gave me more confluence on my bearish bias. So after this, though, we kind of just had a lot of slow movement for like half an hour, I want to say. See right here, what was the time? Was this 10:08, and then what, 10:33? Yeah, almost half an hour of just straight slow movement. And it wasn't until we actually came into this 5-minute imbalance that I can show you. So it wasn't actually until we came back into this 5-minute imbalance right here that I have marked. Wait, oh shoot, okay. We just barely came into this imbalance, but it wasn't after we came into this imbalance where we were actually, starting to make a move again. You can see right here we just had a bunch of, just up and down, just up and down. So we come back into this imbalance, and that's where we really start dumping now, making our moves again, and that was really what was going on, because we could see right here it's just up and down, and the 5-minute was the imbalance we were looking for, because like I said, this was also a 5-minute and a 1-minute liquidity sweep happening almost at the same time. I want to say almost like a two in one type of play, where we had the 1-minute and the 5-minute having a sweep almost at the same time. So we swept some liquidity, broke structure, came back into the order block, and then kept dumping. And at the same time, we also had in this retracement back into the order block on the 1-minute, we had a sweep, break structure, order block, fair value gap, entry, which we ended up breaking back down on, and also equilibrium, where we hit on the 1-minute. However, like I said, I didn't enter on the equilibrium point just because I wanted to be sure, or I needed more confidence on whether my bias was correct or not because of that one imbalance. So with that invalidation, that is um, where I entered. So right here we could see that the 1-minute again. This is a lot of movement back and forth. Now coming back to the 1-minute, like I said, this imbalance that I have labeled for the 5-minute had this drop and then some consolidation. We came back into this imbalance on the 5-minute, and that's when we started making our moves back down. And then during this moves back down, there was this imbalance that was over here that was partially filled. And then right when we came down with this, let's say, right, partially filled. And then the rest of the imbalance, it got invalidated by the candle on the move back down. which was actually pretty good for me because we were already pretty close to TP, so it's just even better. We had this imbalance become an inverse for value gap, and then even so inside this inverse for value gap, we had this for value gap within this inverse for value gap. So just nice, right? So we had price come back into this imbalance before doing our final dump down to our TP, and then we were good. So I'm actually not sure where I marked this from, but I know I marked it from somewhere. I just don't remember where. I was going to use this as a TP point, but I don't remember where. I actually ended up like edging it like so crazily. Wow, I'm wondering if that would even hit or not. But yeah, I remember I just said I was gonna keep looking at it after hitting TP just later to see if it hit it or not, which it did, but we're gonna get rid of it now. So yeah, like I said, this trade was originally supposed to be, originally when we entered, it was a 3.32 risk to reward, and obviously it was supposed to be 1.92. Uh, you know, it could have been a 3.32 like we had it before with the higher risk. However, just for consistency, I want to keep risking a consistent amount, just 1%, and keep going from there. So that was that. And so I moved this back up here, took on my partial position on this, and then hit our TP here. So overall, it was pretty nice trade we took today. And overall, it was just nice. This was our TP. I gotta say why. Marked out our TP right here just because here on the 1 minute we can see this is a nice, real prominent liquidity zone that we have right there. So that's just why I marked it out right there as well. And like I said, this is almost like a 2-in-1 combo. And on the 5 minute, we also had this as a prominent zone of liquidity. That was the reason why we set this as our TP. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It was pretty much a pretty nice trade for today. So here we can see this is how much I made today with both of these positions. These were in the morning. This was the partial close, about $40, and then the final TP, another 190. So in total, about 230-ish. Yeah, 230-ish bucks. So not bad. Yeah, of course, I just wanted to keep it consistent, like I said. So I de-risked and I moved the stop back up where like I had originally entered. So just what I can improve on this, that I would say I can improve, is to definitely be on my either my computer or my phone, just because I had the like everything, all this analysis, if you want to call it that, I had it already done on my MacBook. But now when I moved over to my phone, there was nothing there, and the entry point was almost where I wanted it to be. So I ended up just kind of like rushing it, and apparently I remembered wrong where my stop loss where I wanted it to be. So yeah, I could either just stick to either or if I know that something's going to come up, and uh, also I can look to really pay attention more for where the imbalances are, because this is the imbalance that I didn't see up here. Like I said, yeah, this was pretty much the reason why I didn't enter this though, but just more market awareness, I would say. There's always something to improve. So I would say I need to have more awareness in the market of what's happening, because that was just something I didn't pick up. And then just being either on one or the other, just so I don't have that happen. Because like I said, this one went in my favor, ended up taking a partial position over here. However, it could have also just not went in my favor, and I would have risked almost twice of what I usually risk. So yeah, there'll be more trade recaps. Be sure tomorrow. Let me see what's happening tomorrow. Non-farm tomorrow. So I most likely won't be on tomorrow. Well, I know I already won't be on tomorrow. I don't even try to look. So yeah, we'll probably be back on Monday if there's any good trade setups on Monday. So yeah, with that, I'll see y'all later, boys.